Humans of the internet, welcome to this level 15 interview with Shawnali about Indigo. As you can probably tell, I'm quite excited about this one because Indigo has so much juice. So much juice. So hi,
Hello.
and thanks for talking to me about your character for as long as this takes. Um,
This is gonna be a quick in and out, guys. Like, no big.
uh-huh. So let's start with you.
Yes.
Um, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and how you found D&D and how that led you to be part of the Gallant Horde?
Oh boy. So I came late to the Dungeons and Dragons scene. I was in college before I actually had proper exposure to it, and the first game I played was actually Pathfinder, which is kind of funny considering my emergence into your communities was also Critical Role, who
Yep.
also started on
I don't know.
Pathfinder.
Yep.
I played my very first character ever was a monk of Hungry Ghosts, and she was an elf because I've been obsessed with elves since the Lord of the Rings films came out, and I read The Hobbit in school, like
Mhm.
12 or 13 years old, and I was like, elves are my life. So, so the
So
fact
it's
it
funny
took
that you
me,
ended up in a Fae campaign.
I'm a big, huge like fantasy, but specifically fairy tale lore is
Hmm.
my favorite.
Yeah.
So I also draw, and so Jax came to me because I'm a moderator for critter
Yeah.
gifting, so that's how I came to know you,
Hmm.
and I still participate in that every year. If you haven't signed up, consider
You should
it.
do that.
But
Shawnali
Jax,
manages our angels, which is a
yes.
huge job, and she's not telling you about it because she's too modest, but it is a massive job and a huge part of what makes Christmas work. So
uh, the angels are what do it. I just wrangle them.
angel
Uh,
rank.
yeah. But Jax came to me for art because she said, I have these characters that are going to be reaching level 15 soon. Would you care to do some portraits? And I think the first one may have been Morwyn, perhaps.
Bomba. I'm sure
Oh,
Bomba had
could it?
21st.
Oh, yeah. Bomba
Bomba and Eclipsis.
and
I
Hela,
think
they
were
were all of them,
Hela. I think Hela was the very, very first one. Anyway,
which
I don't know. I don't know. It was a
horrified me,
million.
by the way. Drawing Dragonborn. And then a turtle, and then
Hmm.
all these. So
Right. Yeah.
I came into this as the artist first, and then hearing moderators talk about, oh well, Gur went into the tavern, and then somebody's being a princess about it, and blah blah blah. I was like, I need to know what's happening here because this sounds like delicious fantasy drama that I want to be a part of. I was worried I would never get to play because it's work hours
Mhm.
in Canada, but the way that my schedule works, I've been able to just dive right in.
And how you have dove.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think you were actually, because you're a critic gifting moderator, you had access to the Horde channels before you were actually a member of the Horde. Is that right?
Not originally. Like I
Okay.
didn't know Kyle had mentioned something that was happening with somebody, and I thought that he was talking about real people. And so I was worried something was going on, and I was like, guys, what's happening? And you guys are all like, no, 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 it's in these channels. And I was granted access then for moderator purposes.
That's
And
right.
then I was like,
Yep.
I need to see it all.
And thus Indigo was born. Tell us about Indigo.
Indigo started out as my love letter to cliche rogues. Uh, I love tropes. I love playing into tropes. I love kind of like giving them the credit they deserve for kind of holding fantasy on their backs.
Hmm.
And so I wanted to make kind of your edgelord adjacent, dark and gloomy like rogue who is here to stab people. And they were that.
gonna say, how did that go for you?
Well, so Indigo, for those who don't know, and if you don't, you should really join the Horde. But Indigo started out as just a Fey Moth rogue, which is kind of a love child between Jax and I. I really wanted to play a Mothman. Here we are,
Hmm.
my my non-binary moth babe, uh, who through story elements is now also a warlock of Titania.
Yep, that happened. We're gonna talk about that. Amazing. Long before that happened, though, Indigo met this grumpy half elf called Ardbeg, and that changed everything. I feel for Indigo because up to that point it had been very like I'm not connected to anyone, and I'm such a loner, and blah blah blah. And then Ardbeg happened. Tell us about that.
So I remember the first time they met was probably in the tavern because that was the only
Seems
place
likely.
Ardbeg only ever went.
Hmm.
And Indigo enjoys picking. They like to just pick away at things, and what better to pick away at than this grumpy guy who clearly is like, I'm not here for friends. I'm here for money and work.
Yep.
And this was also around the time other people were kind of nattering at him to be friends.
Hmm.
This is after his whole drama with the ghosts and the sword and all of that kind of stuff. So he had already begun to kind of warm up within the realm slightly.
Hmm.
We were at a nice lukewarm temperature at least by the time
Yep.
Indigo came around.
Room temperature whiskey.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. And so they were like, "Oh, this guy's going to be good to hang around because his buttons are highlighted, they're lit up, you can see exactly where they are,
Yep.
and Indigo loves to just go after that kind of thing. So picking on Ardbeg soon became their favorite hobby.
Hmm.
But then,
And then they caught some feels.
which is super, super complicated, because it was unintentional, obviously. But it was, I mean, as far as the realm goes, it was a slow burn.
Mm.
'Cause they weren't, like,
Yeah.
married before the first mission
Yeah.
or anything like that. Uh, but they were friends drawn together through shared tragedy.
Mm.
They both had people in their past that, to their knowledge, in his, things went differently, but
Yep.
for Indigo, that person is gone forever. And they were able to bond over that, and they used to sit on his rooftop every night and just talk. And then at one point, I believe Kit could probably quote it in the comments. It was something happened, and then Ardbeg said something along the lines, I may be paraphrasing, of "I've wanted you since the moment I saw you," or something
Hmm.
like that. And then it became physical. And then Cora was
Hmm.
found to be alive.
Yep.
Ardbeg's long lost soulmate. Uh, and so then things kind of dropped off, but then they were in a weird in between state where they were still literally sleeping together,
Yeah.
um, for comfort and companionship. But then the saddest day for Indigo, which was also very happy. It was heartfelt.
Complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He went away on a job, and Indigo said, "Oh, I'll cook us dinner."
Hmm.
And so just sad, cold beef stroganoff.
Yep.
They sat waiting for him for hours, and nobody told them where he
Yep.
went.
Nobody knew. And I think there was, I can't remember what mission it was, but there was like big drama stuff in the mission as well.
Was
So
it like in
Titania,
hospital?
maybe I can't remember, but Titania was also distracted because of whatever else. Like there was other big stuff happening,
Yeah.
and so it didn't occur to her because she was like, okay, well I've sent you on your way now. I have to deal with this other bullshit. It might have been the one where that no, that was you were on that one. No, I don't remember which one it was, but I know that there was something. There was a reason Titania was just like, there's other stuff going on, and nobody bothered to inform you. Mm.
Yeah.
I think eventually they came to the throne room, and Titania was like, "Oh, yeah, he had a thing to do."
Yeah. And then Indigo got into it with Titania that night.
Hmm.
Uh, people can say what they will about Indigo, but Indigo like has no fear.
No, it's pretty
They
amazing.
they've known who Titania was the moment they met her. Basically, they
Did they?
knew
I don't
pretty
remember.
much because it was already out that who she was within the
Yeah.
Horde, and Indigo was like, I'm pretty sure I know who this is."
Yep.
So for them to just burst into a throne room and be like, "What the fuck?" Yeah, I think that proves like they don't, maybe unwisely so, they don't fear her at all.
Hmm. I'm not sure that it's unwise. I think Indigo is extremely useful to Titania. Titania is has become fond of her moth nibbling, so she's probably not going to spite you. She hasn't smited anyone else yet, and other people have deserved it more.
Oh, I should have a little flag made because I am the smiting cheering section. Because every time somebody's like in trouble with TT, I'm like, oh, please let it be today.
Zen would have got smited if it wouldn't have harmed the Horde. The only reason that didn't happen was because Titania was aware that Zen dying wouldn't solve the problem.
Oh,
And
oh.
that's it. That was the only thing that stopped her.
Nothing has frustrated Indigo quite like everybody going like, why did Titania do it? Like it was a show. And Indigo's sitting there going, it wasn't a show, you morons. It was for her protection. Like, oh my god, you're all dumb.
It's fine. It's constantly fascinating to me how people interpret Titania's motives because they're often so different to what people think they are. She is very, very careful about her actions even when she's emotional. And it's funny when people are like, it was this thing, and she's like, okay.
No, if you wanted a show, guess what? She could have made it a fucking show,
It
but
would have been a show. Yeah.
yeah.
No, this was too. Yeah. Anyway, that's a whole different kettle of fish. Um, this is going to be all over the place. I can tell.
I know.
Uh,
Indigo's got their finger in many pies, so
the,
they're there
the
for everything.
the second thing I wanted to ask you about is temperance, because that is a whole thing. Because that was the thing that bonded Indigo and Artbeck, but now Indigo doesn't remember temperance.
Yeah. So, okay, so I have to go back even further. So
Mm,
one thing that I love to do playing Dungeons and Dragons is leaving large gaps for my DM to fill in.
mm.
Because though it's my character, I like to have surprises also, and
Prizes,
also the
yeah.
input from the DM. Indigo has a bad case of legitimate, it's not played up. They're not doing this to be secretive. They have traumatic amnesia. They don't
Mm,
know why they're kicked out of the Feywild. They don't
mm,
know what happened. They've talked with Ardbeg in the past and talked about how they think their mom did it. And before coming to the material plane, they don't have memory of feeling loved or cared for.
mm.
So they got dropped in the material plane in Ravnica of all places, which is funny because that's another tie that
Yep.
Ardbeg and
Yep.
Indigo have that we didn't plan. I did not know Will before all of this. So
It's just one of those things.
yeah, so Indigo had initially tried to run. They don't speak common. They only spoke Sylvan at the time. Uh, and they tried to run, and out of the city limits, there's a lot of monsters and things like that. So they had to head back into the city where they were very mistreated. And the first kind person to them, keep in mind, the Fae age a little bit differently.
Mm,
Time is different in the Fae. That's another thing. Indigo doesn't know how old they are.
mm.
When asked, they answer how many years they spent on the material plane.
Yep.
So they met somebody who was similar in mental kind of growth as them, which is a young teenage tiefling street kid named Temperance. And she's who, this is hot secret, she's who named Indigo.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, didn't even know that. Cool.
Guess what? Indigo doesn't know it either because they can't remember.
Yep.
Oh. So she taught them common.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a juicy tidbit. Okay, yep, carry on.
Yeah. She she taught them common. She was their partner in crime. They ended up doing petty crimes and stuff like that for money. Eventually, they were taken in by House Demir of Ravnica. So they worked for a big bad evil vampire for a
Yep,
while. Uh, Another hot thing that
I
people
knew
might
that one.
not know. Yeah,
Yeah,
Jax knows this,
yeah.
but I don't. Nobody knows. Ardbeg doesn't know this.
No.
Will might. Uh, Temperance was a warlock of Demir. Uh, and so she ended up, they spent many years working together as kind of, that's how they made their living. Uh, Indigo's one treasured magic item, their weapon of warning, which now they passed on to Quora,
Mm,
was the one frivolous kind of thing they ever bought themselves, kind of thing. And so eventually they were going to do this job in a wealthy mansion, and the guy came back and they didn't expect it. They were attacked. Temperance tried to use a spell, and the house caught on fire, and Temperance died. Uh, and Indigo was a wreck, rightfully so, because
mm-hmm.
Temperance and Indigo weren't romantically involved at all, but they were soulmates.
Yeah.
And her dying ruined them. And Indigo has incorrectly told Ardbeg that it had been 7 years since she died, but it had been closer to over a decade. But they didn't have any sense
Yeah.
of time. So they've been on the material plane for roughly 50 years. They don't know how old they are. They don't know how long they lived before that. Like all of that.
Yep. Lots of delicious gaps.
Yeah. So decade later, they find this job and they're like, I'm sick of working for Demir. I can't get out. I don't know where else to go. And so they found the Gallant Horde and they performed a coin trick for the Queen of Summer and stayed.
Yep. And then there was a mission to the Feywild
Yeah.
where Indigo was asked to give something up in order to get the thing that was required.
Mhm. Everybody had things that meant something to them. Uh, Indigo, I mentioned it before, their weapon of warning would have been that thing.
Yeah.
But before every mission, Ardbeg and Indigo exchanged daggers.
Mm,
Or not the weapon of warning, sorry. This was a dagger given to them by Temperance.
yeah.
And every mission they swap. And Indigo possesses things. They own things.
Mm,
But nothing means anything to them except this T, we called it the T dagger.
mm,
And they couldn't give Ardbeg's away because that's not theirs to give.
mm-hmm.
So the only thing that meant anything to them was there was two things. It took me time to decide. It was going to either be the memory of Temperance or it was going to be their love for Ardbeg. And they decided that because Temperance was dead, she can't be hurt by the decision, but Ardbeg could.
Yeah.
So they forgot her.
It was freaking heartbreaking. Oh my god. Like heartbreaking. And then the playing it out afterwards where it was like I don't remember the name of this dagger and oh
Every once in a
Indigo.
while, they still pause and like they have a
Yeah.
moment where they go to tell somebody. They're like, "Oh yeah, I was
Yeah.
anyways, and
Yeah.
they can't.
Yeah. Which is it's particularly heartbreaking because of how much broken memory there is. Like there's so much that it just sort of I guess from Indigo's point of view blends in with all the other things they don't remember.
Yeah, the only thing is prior to the material plane, because they already didn't remember that, they don't talk about that time.
Yeah.
But things with temperance,
Yeah.
that was their time before the Horde. And so when people ask them like, "Oh, how did you learn that thing?" or "Oh, where did you get this?"
Yeah.
or that, they also have a tattoo that was a tribute to her that they
Mhm.
can't explain anymore. But
Yeah.
it was also it is also an an homage to their time with Ardbeg.
Yeah.
It's complicated.
Yep. Yep. Oh, heartbreaking. Okay, let's talk about fun things. Because
This
wow,
this is fun. This is the kind of stuff I
I know
live
it's
for in a
it's
story.
delicious. It's delicious, but it was. Whew.
I,
Um,
had we had tears on stream before that?
not to that extent. I think we'd had the Lich game where Harper and their mother were reunited. There were some tears then.
Yeah.
But that game was rip people's heart out. Like I think almost everyone was crying by the end of that one. It was intense. It was just
Yeah.
I remember
Sorry.
afterwards just being like, "Whoo, that was a lot." But good. But like as a storyteller, that's the shit I live for. Like because then you know people are invested and they're really like have bought into the story you're telling, and that's magic. That's magic. That's better than all the nat 20s
Yeah.
in the world. Um, so Indigo has gotten quite enmeshed in the realm and the people in the realm and Titania and her mission and all of that stuff. Um, and there are a couple of kind of things that stand out. The one is obviously the House of Sneaks, which
Yeah.
Indigo built with the realm by telling the realm stories, as far as I can tell. That's what happened there. Um, which occasionally you run people through said house. That's talk about that. What's that like?
So Gur assigned Indigo uh you, A, for something to do, I'm sure, but
Yep.
B, there wasn't any training grounds for non like martial fighters.
Yeah.
Like there's the magical experimentation lab where people with magic can go experiment with that. There's the arena where people were at the time just 1v1ing or team fighting, like it
Yeah.
was PvP in the arena, but there was nothing to be sneaky or anything like that really. And so Gur was like, make something. And I think Indigo was also one of the first people to actually talk to the realm, like one of the first Horde members, because Titania kind of always
Yeah.
did. But Indigo was one of the first Horde members to be like, well, I'm going to talk to the this place like it's a person and it can hear me.
Which
And
it is kind of.
yeah, it would lay in the field where it decided that this is going to be, and it would tell its stories of their exploits, of the the most recent run of the Hoss, as it was shortened to, not hose. It does look like that, but it's
Does look
Hoss.
like that.
um, was Indigo knew this story in Ravnica. There was this dude who was like so rich. He had so much money he didn't know what to do with it. And so he was the type of person to keep like exotic pets.
Ah, yeah.
And he had a basilisk, or at least that was the rumor. And people had this rumor that he had this statue garden to feed his basilisk, where if people displeased this rich guy, he'd turn them to stone and feed the basilisk. So that was the latest Hoss run, was
Hmm.
this basilisk story. And that's what they do every night before they go to bed. They talk to the realm, and the realm takes what Indigo says and constructs a challenge.
Yep.
And that's the Hoss basically.
It's it's great. I love it. I love it when players go and do things because it means that other players get to experience a different kind of brain. And I think that is useful.
I apologize formally to the Horde for any of the experiences you may have in the Hoss. Normally it's being stabbed.
Whereas I will just rip your heart out
Yeah.
and make you like it.
Yeah.
Amazing. Um, there's also the breakfast fairy thing. Indigo has managed to befriend all of my NPCs, which is great for my NPCs, but terrible for Shawnali, who then has to RP with herself because Jack doesn't have time.
Yeah. A lot of Indigo's really cool relationships are with NPCs.
Yeah, which is unfortunate. We should make a Billy and Indigo just talk shit time soup and just occasionally pop things in there.
Indigo has had a gift for Billy for a couple months, and we haven't
Oh,
had a
we should,
good
yeah.
opportunity because
We're gonna make a
they
time soup for that.
they had it before uh the missing team was missing.
Mm.
And then the only other time they've like been in a RP situation with Billy was like during that time, and they're like, "This is not the time."
This is inappropriate. Yeah.
Yeah,
He is one of my favorite NPCs because there's so much story there that never comes out because he's non-combatant. He doesn't fight. Um and he is just kind of there. But he has a lot of story stuff that he could reveal if anyone bothered to talk to him. But the only person who ever talks to him is Indigo. Nobody else ever talks to him.
well,
So maybe I need to
Airden
make a
was
time soup.
Airden talks to him about
Yes.
Airden
Yeah.
and their
Yeah.
bond,
Yeah. Yeah.
which
That
Indigo told them.
yep. Yep. That's it.
Yeah,
It's fun because Billy has no particular desire to hide that information, but he is unable to say it. So
and Indigo won't share it openly.
yeah. Yeah.
But the breakfast fairy thing came about because Indigo is Fae.
Hmm.
And if they feel they owe someone something, they need to be even.
Hmm.
And so the breakfast fairy thing became something that they did for people they thought they owed without the other party being aware.
Yeah.
Because most of those other people would all say that Indigo doesn't owe them anything.
Mm,
But Indigo
absolutely.
truly believes they do.
Yeah.
The breakfast fairy became a way for them to align with the other people saying, "You don't owe us anything," and them being like, "Okay, but I totally do."
Mm.
Everybody likes egg sandwiches.
Do
So
you know what's
nobody's
really funny?
hmm.
Is Jax doesn't like egg sandwiches.
I'm thinking like breakfast egg sandwiches too, not like egg salad. They're like English muffin, egg, bacon, stuff
Mhm.
like that. Marla wasn't getting bacon for a while because Indigo forgot that the only animals she doesn't eat are friends. But
The thing about Marla is Marla doesn't differentiate between animals, people, and plants.
yeah,
So if she didn't eat things that she thinks of as people, she would starve. So the way she's dealt with that is by saying she only eats things that are not her friends.
yeah,
And that goes for anything. So
yeah,
if a plant is her friend, she won't eat it.
yeah.
But yeah.
But Indigo's experience with druids has been vegan. So
Yeah.
they were like,
Yeah,
I'm
no.
going to be sensitive to her wishes.
That,
And then
that's not
Marla's
how
like,
Marla works.
I need meat. And
Yeah.
Indigo's
Bring
like,
the bacon.
yes.
Just don't make it from a friend and we're fine.
Yeah.
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 Oh,
So
yeah.
that's the breakfast fairy thing. I don't think
It's great.
anybody's ever asked Indigo why they do it.
Yeah, everyone just thinks Indigo's being nice, which they are, but yeah,
Sure.
it's as with all things Fae, more complicated than that. Okay, there's one more thing on my list that I made of story stuff, and you know what it's going to be.
No.
The Oberon Incident. The anemones. That thing where you did a really dumb thing and managed to pull Artur into it.
Artur is a grown ass man. And Indigo has taken a lot of blame for Artur's involvement in that when they do
No,
not deserve it.
he made his own choices, and it's interesting because now we're getting sidetracked. But Artur, um, people have an impression of Artur, and it's not entirely accurate.
Not at all.
which is always very interesting to watch from the outside.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's a totally different kettle of fish.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Indigo yelling out Oberon's name on a mission
Yeah, let's
and
talk about
the
that.
repercussions thereof.
Yeah, let's talk about that and the start of like the war kicking off for realsies.
Yep, it gave us an excuse to speed up the timeline.
Yeah. So this was at a time when Cora had just joined the realm. Their relationship with Ardbeg was eh, even their friendship has kind of been strained since then, and
Yeah,
it's been a constant fight to try to find their place now
yeah,
together. Um, and Indigo was also at a time where they didn't have enough for their mind to work on.
yeah,
So, for those who don't know, Indigo is a little obsessive. Uh, a little. So, all that they had to focus on was work. And Indigo was scheduling a game about once a month,
mhm,
but then people would drop. And so, Indigo was actually gaining a lot of power and gold and stuff like that in a short amount of time because we were just able to fill those
yeah,
gaps. So I was only trying to book once a month, and then I would get like two because, oh, there's a drop here, oh, there's a
yeah,
drop here. And so I would snap those up. That was all Indigo had to basically live for was work.
mhm.
And the mission seemed so simple. It was almost too straightforward. Little did I know. Sarai was
Yep,
actually truly the
yep.
story of that
I,
mission.
I had I had a whole like story thing happening there, but then that kind of got sidelined. Anyway,
But
please continue.
well, not only
DMing.
that,
This is what it's about.
yeah. So the first half of that mission, Indigo had touched an anemone,
Mhm.
partially because Shawnali wanted to entertain Jax. So that if Adam put a fun filter on my camera. We were having a gay old time that mission. It was all
Yep.
fun and games, literally.
Yep.
And then Indigo's like, this is too easy. This is too easy. This is too easy. And they said that. And the problem with Indigo and Artur is they feed into each other very
Yep.
well. And he's like, "What do you mean it's too easy?" And they're like, "But what if Oberon's involved? What if this? What if that?" And then they're seeing red lines where there are none.
Yep.
And Indigo says to the team, "Do you want to fuck around and find out?" And Artur is their biggest hype man in the background going, "Abso-fucking-lutely I do."
Do it.
Erin's there, who's not going to say squat. She's like, I don't know if Erin particularly at the time knew the gravity of the
No,
situation.
I don't think so.
And Indigo yelled out his name. And you said, make a charisma check.
Yeah, something like that.
And I was like, I'm going to use Twitch inspiration. Rolled really good. Oberon spoke to them in their mind. Indigo schools their face. They are stone. Nobody could tell squat. So they get to a different room, and Artor's like, nothing happened. Let me try. And he did it, and guess what? Oberon heard that time
Mhm.
too.
Mhm. Yep, because then you had his attention.
Yeah. So really,
It's funny
Indigo,
because you wanted to roll badly on that charisma check because then he wouldn't have paid attention. But because it was like this charismatic moth voice, he was
yeah,
like, "What's that?" Oh,
yeah, yeah. What's that? Somebody I think is scum is talking to me a world away? Ooh.
yep, yep.
Uh, and Oberon became, in my interpretation, delighted. He
Mm,
was enjoying the situation because
mhm,
now there's these two beings who know his name and are calling to him. What for? Why would
mhm,
they do that? Ooh, do you want to join me? Like, and at the time too, Artur is only a half giant, which I am sure is less than a giant to
mhm.
Oberon because he is gross.
Yep. Yep.
so so you've got these two uh, beings who would not live up to his personal standards, but were ballsy enough to yell at him.
Hmm.
And that is why Indigo and Artor. Artor was already linked to the lady politically, and so
Yeah.
he apologized. That was fine. Indigo was like, I've fucked things up on a large scale. And they sold their soul to Titania that night.
Yeah. Yep. Became a warlock.
Yeah, they also freedom being very important to Indigo, that's like a huge decision.
Yep.
The ramifications within the realm were that Indigo took the brunt of the blame for that entire situation because for
Yep.
some reason, for some people, Artur is a pure soul. He's so impressionable and so
Yeah. He's
innocent.
definitely not a cleric of a really evil storm god.
Yeah, he wouldn't do anything bad ever. He is just a really sweet, naive guy. So Indigo got blamed for dragging Artor down.
Yep. Yep.
Ardbeg yelled at them, said that he wouldn't anymore, kept like the jabs were oncoming. Indigo
Yep.
was like, I will fucking leave this place. Like, either you're done or you're not. Like,
Yeah.
you have
Make a
to make
choice.
up your
Yep.
decision. And they're like, I'm already paying for my choices. Like, and that's one thing that frustrates them too is people take warlock pacts very fucking lightly in the horde, and Indigo's like, you're all nuts,
Yep.
A, but
Yep.
B, like, you don't know what I've given up. Stop acting like I haven't done enough.
Yep. But Indigo sees the world very differently to most people, I think. And that is the source of a lot of that conflict.
Well, Indigo is, not to sound like Oberon here, but Indigo's one of the most Fey
Mm.
horde members. And I
Yep.
think there's a huge problem when only the archfey in the realm seem to understand Indigo constantly
Yeah.
because everybody's very like there have been issues within the realm of people like spouting off anti-fey rhetoric and stuff like
Yep.
that, and Indigo's like, you're gonna fucking stop because are you forgetting who you serve here?
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Yep.
But yeah, the only like it's sad when Artagan's one of the people who understands Indigo the best.
But he gets it because he's Faye. He gets
Yeah.
it. Yep. All right. We've spoken a lot, and I'm on a time crunch, so I'm going to
Yeah.
run you through some rapid fire
Let's go.
questions. Are you
Let's
ready
go.
for this?
Yeah.
Okay. Where is Indigo at with Titania? What do they think about her at this point in time?
They're tied to her forever.
That doesn't answer the question though.
Yeah. No, Indigo trusts Titania to be Titania.
That's very smart.
Yep.
That's how Titania sees everybody,
Yep.
pretty much.
Indigo's very good at. They don't trust anybody, but they trust people to be who they are.
Yeah. Okay. Sweet. Tell me about Horde members. Who do you love? Who not you? Indigo. Who does Indigo love? Who does Indigo not love? Um,
Yeah.
what are your opinions on people?
You might need to be a little more specific because the obvious answer is Ardbeg.
Yeah.
Uh,
I
he
don't
is.
mean love. I mean
Oh, well, that is also the
connect
answer to that.
connect to. Yeah.
Connected to their core group is Titania gave Indigo a riddle and said, "Here, only tell your core group
Yeah.
that." So that's Ardbeg, Cora, Morwen, Artor, and Billy.
And Billy.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So that's like the easiest answer. But they're also really tight with Rumi and Jean-Luc.
Hmm.
They have more friends than they ever thought they would, so
Yep.
that's a challenge for them. They're also, like we mentioned before, um, pretty cool with most of the NPCs of the
Yep.
realm. Uh,
Is amusing.
yeah, so there's that. And then Indigo just trusts literally everybody,
Yeah.
for the most part.
Yeah.
But as for who they here's some fun things. They think that there's a lot of ego in the realm, and that makes
Hmm.
them not particularly care to work with certain people at certain times unless
Yep.
it's on a specific mission that serves them. Harper, they don't trust. They think it's really weird that Titania gave a baby that much power. Uh,
Titania has learned that lesson, as you may have noticed from her
yeah,
previous conversation with Maki. She was like, not going to give you that much intelligence because last time I did that, didn't go so well.
yeah. So
And that's a
Indigo's
direct
like,
reference to Harper.
Indigo's like, I think it's weird. They're a literal baby in my
Yep,
mind, and
yep.
they have unconceivable power. Yet Indigo, in particular, has decided to go on a library heist solely with Harper. Uh,
That's going to be an interesting day.
then there's Garen, uh,
Mhm.
who has it's Garen's relationship with Indigo has always been really weird. It's been tense. He busted in on some nudity at one
Oh,
point.
yeah. I forgot about
Uh,
that. Yeah.
he then one of Indigo's huge downfalls with another character was because Indigo defended Garen hardcore, and now Garen treats them like they're not there half the time, and they're
Mm.
like, "Oh, I'm not feeding your ego, so you don't have time for me." Okay.
Mm.
Uh, Zenashi, they only ever worked with her because Gur said to.
Mm.
So when she was booted from the realm, Indigo was delighted. There was a small part that they wouldn't do it, but they wanted to look at Gur and be like, "I told you so." Like,
Mm.
there is a reason why I wasn't bringing her in on things, but you told me to.
Yep.
And so there was a slight smugness to them in that moment. Um, there's yeah, that's most of the tense stuff that's kind of not even that tense anymore
Yeah.
because Indigo is very focused on work and what serves the cause.
Yeah. Um, what is, I guess things have changed a lot since Indigo showed up. But what is their end game? Like in terms of what they want to get out of this at this
Oh,
point?
that's
It,
the
it
question.
is that still up in the air? Is that still a Indigo doesn't actually know?
Oh, Indigo doesn't know beans. Their whole point of coming here was to earn money and power
Mhm.
because survival was all Indigo knew, and
Mm.
the only way to survive was to have money and power, and they didn't have any.
Well, now they do.
Now they have it a lot. They still feel like they're one of the weakest people here, and that makes them slightly insecure. They don't know what their future is. In their mind, they are Titania's tool till they die.
Mm.
Um, so they have discussed with Titania that they will have a place to live in the
Yep.
Summerlands, and so now that's kind of the story they tell people who keep asking them what the future holds,
Yep.
because that's a pretty story and it sounds good.
Hmm.
And that's what they'll do, but they don't know beyond I have a place to live in the Summerlands.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they will continue to work for her and do what she says because that's what they said they do.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
Um, I have some plans.
Also, this is something that keeps coming up in the chats is we had a traveler con. We had an event where we all had traveler statues,
Yep.
and Indigo got a stone traveler statue, and they've decided it's going to be their door knocker in the Summerlands. So they're
Mm.
going to have a house.
Yep.
That that is a plan
Yep.
to have a traveler icon as their door knock.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Um, do you have a favorite moment in the Horde? Which is a huge question, I realize, and I kind of want you to answer it both in and out of character, as player and as character. A favorite moment in your Horde experience so far?
Um, I I love there was my favorite thing that I've written is not a good time. Uh, my favorite thing that I've ever written was I'd rather die than have you touch my soul. When they
Yeah, I
revoke
remember that. Yep.
permission to be like revivified during the realm,
Hmm.
save the realm. That's like my favorite thing I've personally written. That
Yep.
line was just like that sticks with me.
Yep.
Um, uh, Indigo and Arterbeg were just like they were fun to
Mm.
write.
Yep.
So I did enjoy that. Indigo, loves working, so they would probably answer their favorite is having gold and having money,
Mm-hmm.
and definitely not the night of Morwood's wedding, sitting watching the sunrise with Ardbeg.
Mm, yep. Yep.
Mission wise, is that a question that's coming up too?
Yes, that's the next one. Go.
Indigo's favorite mission. eh, there's a lot. Like they've really enjoyed a lot of the missions they've been on. The Medusa one was classic,
Yeah,
but
pretty great.
I like to visual. I'm very visual. So there was a point where they were chasing Grimsley, and the whole team's over
Yeah,
there
that's right.
fighting some crabs, and Indigo's like in his house watching him outside, like run away. And Indigo was invisible in his house.
Hmm.
He didn't know they were there. And
Hmm.
they had dagger, and they bamfed behind him and hooked his clavicle with 2 daggers.
Yep.
And that's like the most satisfying moment for them within a mission.
Yep.
Uh, so that was a really good one for them. For me, it's got to be getting Tasha's crook, the Crook of Ra.
Oh, yeah, yep. Not
Yeah,
Indigo's best time, but an amazing story
yeah,
point.
that's Shawnali's favorite mission
Yeah.
for sure. Next Friday might contend with it though.
Yeah. I was gonna say, is there any mission coming up that you're really looking forward to? But I think you just answered that question.
I only have one, so but
Yeah, but on the books,
yeah,
maybe.
I I I want to be on the Tasha mission more than
Yeah.
anything. That's the one that I really, really want because
Yeah.
I missed out on the
Before now.
lower level one
Yeah.
because I leveled out because of Medusa, I think.
Yeah.
Um, because I yeah, and then because I stepped in for somebody else, I leveled
Mm.
out of that one. And then the other one, Indigo was supposed to take Greth's spot because Greth was missing,
Yeah.
and then it didn't get booked, and Greth came back, and Indigo
Yeah.
was like, "Well, it's inappropriate for me to take his spot," so they gave
Yeah.
it back.
Yeah.
So the only one of Baba Yaga's daughters that hasn't gotten a full team
It's the
is
Tasha one.
Tasha.
Yeah. And honestly, that's the highest level one. It'll be the most difficult. Yeah. So that'll be fun. Cool.
That's what I want.
Is there anything we haven't done? I know we've done a lot of different things. I try very hard to mix it up as much as I can. That you would like to see us do mission wise.
I'm so glad you asked. I've spent 2 weeks thinking about this question in particular. I would like a bottle episode murder mystery.
You're not the first person who said that to me.
Yeah, I
DNL also
wanna
said that.
yeah,
Yeah.
one location that we're kind of stuck in where we're probably there for some other reason. I'm spitballing. We're probably there for it's some kind of important ball that hey, that family from the Cirilla,
Yeah,
what's
yep.
her name? That
Cinderella.
family is
Yep.
Cinderella.
They're gonna have a ball. Yep.
That family's gonna have a ball. We go there because we're supposed to be bodyguards or the envoy for the Summer Queen. We just have to make a bunch of nobles happy. Oh my god, the lights go out. There's a scream. The lights come back on. Somebody's been murdered. Like,
Yep.
close
That would
the
be fun.
doors. We have to figure out who's done it. Like that's the kind of thing that
Mm. That
just
that
watch.
that mission was created solely to introduce that character of Cinderella. Like I was like, I need to introduce this character because I know who she is and what her shtick is, but I need a reason why the Horde know about her. So
Yeah, it's been
it's great
satisfying
fun.
to watch them complain about glitter the whole week afterwards.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. The thing where Alex went to great lengths to find out about the glitter, and I was like, so what exactly are you doing? And I was like, no, the glitter's not magic.
It's just glitter.
It's just glitter. That's what glitter
It's
does.
just craft herpes, bud. Like,
And he was like, ah, I love you and I hate you at the same time. It was great. It
yeah.
was so perfect. All right. It's the final question time. You know what the question's going to be because you've watched every interview at least 4 times. I know you. And the
Not
question is this.
everyone.
The question is this. Tell us something about Indigo that none of us know. A secret.
I
A
could
secret
as
secret.
readily say that Jax has to answer that question because I've left so much for Jax to fill in. But I've already told like a lot of things
Hmm.
today
That's true.
that
Yep, you have.
even Ardbeg didn't know, and he knows everything Indigo knows, uh,
Yeah.
here and there.
Is there anything you as a player know about Indigo that even Indigo doesn't know? Because we've had that answered a few times.
I mean, technically, they don't know where they got the name Indigo from.
Mm.
I do know their true name, but I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna give that to people because they do have a true name, um, which is ironic considering the way the story has gone, the meaning behind it.
You need to tell Jax that information at some point.
I'll DM
'Cause-
it to you sometime
okay, cool.
because the meaning of it is why like I chose something that was kind of like entertaining to me, but now because of the way the story's gone, the meaning is like, oh shit, is this fate? Is this fate?
I mean,
Uh,
stories do that. You give them shape. Names have power. That
so
that
yeah,
that is not just a fae thing. That is a
yeah,
real thing in the world.
yeah.
I
Um,
firmly believe it.
I think that it might surprise people to know that as chaotic as Indigo is, though, like their change and stuff like that, they seem very neutral at this point, like just
Mm,
incredibly so. But at this point, if Titania told Indigo to kill somebody for her, they would do it. And there's very few people on the list that they could say no about.
yeah, probably one hand.
Yeah,
Mm,
probably their riddle crew.
yeah. Which is interesting because when I, as a DM, think about the characters that potentially could become powerful enough and problematic enough that Titania would ask that, Artor's on that list.
I know. Actually, okay,
Like,
here's
it
what it
depends
is.
how it goes, obviously, but like he's potentially going to become problematic.
Indigo found out that Artor's god is evil.
Hmm.
And if Artor became a problem, Indigo would be the first person to look at
Yeah,
Titania and tell her, we need to kill
we
Artor.
need to deal with this. Yep, yep,
They would do that, and it would be hard for them. It would be
yeah,
heartbreaking for them. They'd probably do it with tears in their eyes.
yeah,
But if it came to, if it had to be done, they would rather be the one to do it and
yep,
give him that respect
yep.
than to just send anybody else to do it.
The thing is that that's the only situation where Titania would do that, is if it became someone who she had given the power to,
Yeah.
and now that person was a problem because then she feels responsible for it.
Yeah. And so
So there are a
Indigo
couple.
would do
Harper's
it.
another one. Harper is on that list of like, we'll see how this goes because this could become. But she's straight up said to Harper to their face, "If you become a problem, I will kill you."
Yep.
Like she's done that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Indigo has volunteered to
yeah,
Titania in the past, like, hi, if somebody has a problem, like,
yeah.
let me do
Happy
it.
girl. Yeah,
So I think
awesome.
that I am going to put the question back on you, which is what is something about Indigo that we don't know, Jax?
Indigo's mom is still out there.
Yeah, I thought so.
Which is why I might need your name. Whatever
Yeah,
name Indigo's mother called them.
yeah, their actual real last name.
Mm.
I'll send that to you.
Because that's something I've been noodling at in the back of my head.
Yeah, I have a first and middle name, but the family name could very much be up in the air. There we go. There we go, folks. Hey, did you
Juicy,
like
juicy
that
stuff.
interview?
That was pretty great. Um, okay, well, we've like been doing this for an hour. I need to go and have breakfast. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your art because it is astonishingly beautiful. And the amount of art we have from you for this game and the people in this game has been astounding. And
Yeah,
I feel like you have given us an between you and Will, from a like an art and design perspective, you have given us our aesthetic.
yeah.
The
I
chibis are
guess
awesome, but we've had multiple people do chibis, whereas you've been
yeah.
doing the level 15 ones
I
from the
think
start.
I'm right down there or something like that. Like somewhere around
Somewhere
here,
there's an indigo on the
there's
screen.
an indigo, which perfectly accidentally matches the Jean-Luc.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. There've been a couple like that have been like,
Looking at each
um,
other.
yeah, um, and yeah, it's been a pleasure to have you make our world visual, because that is not something I can do. I can tell a good story, but I can't make the pictures. So
Yeah,
I
well,
appreciate it personally, very much so.
yeah,
Um, and I never dreamed when I started this that we would have so much art. Never
yeah,
dreamed that that would happen. It's
yeah.
magic.
Every character that reaches 15, at
Yeah,
least,
yeah,
has two pieces of artwork for them.
yeah,
So
yeah. And most of them have more than that. So it's pretty
yeah,
magical. Okay. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your brain and your contribution to this crazy thing, because you put a lot of time and love and effort into it, and we appreciate you greatly. Um, and I guess we will probably be about to do the third seal when people see this. Seems likely. Um, so you should go to Twitch and watch that happen, because
yeah,
maybe Indigo will die, and that will be
yeah.
sad.
Do you want to see a moth get crushed by an autumnal archfey? Because that could be happening in like 5 minutes.
Well, not 5 minutes, maybe like 2 hours. But yeah,
No, Jax, this one is not going to be a 6-hour mission. I swear to you.
awesome. Yeah, come and watch me try to kill people. I try to kill my friends every Saturday. It's great fun, and we all enjoy it thoroughly. Um, and yeah, welcome to Indigo. Whew, what a ride. uh, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, have a beautiful time zone. We love you. Thank you for watching.